What if anxiety, brain fog, and depression weren't just mental, but also chemical? What if the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food you eat are silently shaping your moods? And some of them not for the better. We're going to be dealing with this amazing, controversial topic right after this. Welcome, everybody. This is a Life Enthusiast Health Shots podcast, restoring vitality to you and the planet. I'm your co-host, Scott Patton. Joining us, as usual, Martin Patella, health engineer at Life Enthusiast. Hey, Martin, how are you doing today?
I'm good, actually. My mood is just fine.
It's my mood that's really bad. Before we get into the whole emotional upheaval thing, which still shocks me to this day, that most people think it's like mental, and they totally disregard environment, totally disregard food, totally disregard drink, totally disregard air. And yeah, no, you're just insane. There's nothing we can do. Here's the drug. Hi, George. Glad to have you join us as usual. But those of you that have been following us know that about 2 weeks ago, Martin was on with us and he had laryngitis and sounded a little rougher around the edges than he normally does. However, what you may or may not know is that Martin was up in Canada and I was down in Colombia in South America. And about 4 days later, guess who got laryngitis?
The suggestible Scott.
Who knew that StreamYard, which is what we use to do this, was also contagious? That if you had something on your side of the screen that was contagious, the person on the other side would get it. But I have not had laryngitis for at least 20 years, if not longer, Martin. I mean, I know I've had it, but I don't remember when it was. It was so long. Yeah. And then you have it, and I'm perfectly fine. Like I'm actually thinking the day before, I'm walking, my knees are great, the sun is shining, the air is coming into my lungs well, and then 2 days later, I can't talk hardly at all.
Yeah, what's with Martin? Why is he such a poor example? And
no, I wasn't thinking that at all. I was thinking, there is something about the emotional, energetic, spiritual, mental aspect of life that we totally ignore, right? Because if I hadn't seen you for 2 weeks and you had lasagna, if you had laryngitis, would I have got it? I mean, who can say, right? Like maybe it was the laryngitis bug that I just got, but I don't believe it. I believe that there's connections that we have. You're like my brother. And we're connected on a whole bunch of different levels, which creates a whole new way of looking at your health when you think about it, right?
Yeah. And I'm thinking there's an emotional component to everything. And if I can't say things, I think it's because I am making myself not say something that should be said.
Mm-hmm.
Withholding something that should have been expressed.
Yeah.
And
there's a whole philosophy around that. If your back hurts, it's because you're not feeling supported. And
carrying the weight of the world.
Carry the weight of the world. Yeah. And so anyway, I wanted to bring that up because I really feel like we pigeonhole everything when everything is connected and doesn't belong in its own little boxes, right? Like there's no boxes. Yeah. We put them in boxes, but it's all together, right? I mean, just to go off on a slight tangent here, there's a lot of talk about forests and how the trees support other trees even miles away, or the fungus that's in the ground and the soil is supporting the trees and the soil and the life in ways that we had and communicating, right? Like that tree needs more water. So all of a sudden water goes from, a mile away through tree. I don't know how. and this tree gets enough water to, be better. It's just an amazing world that we live in, right?
Yeah.
So today we want to talk about mental health and about it being more than just mental, right? Like, oh, I'm depressed, right? Like, well,
Well,
maybe
let's unpack that really quickly in a simple way. The autonomic nervous system, which controls great many things in the human body's functioning, the most important being fight or flight, the stress side, and rest and repair, the fix it after side. You can be in one or the other, not both, at any one time.
right.
And the fight or flight has anxiety. Well, starts with excitement and alertness, but if you go deep, you end up in anxiety. And if you go over the top, you end up in schizophrenia. And the other one, the parasympathetic, is the relaxed, but overly relaxed is concerned and despondent, and really, really, really too much relaxation gives you depression. So that's the map.
Right.
Work with that.
So it's a long, what's the word? Spectrum, right? Like you could almost make it a line, right? And if you're way over here, too far, I mean, it's like if you, I hate to use this one. It's, if you have like one beer once a month, like your body can handle it, no problem. If you have one beer every 10 minutes, you can't.
You can't metabolize that. You metabolize safely about 1 to 2 beers a day. That's it.
Yeah. So once you get beyond that, and of course, if you really, really love beer and you can't have any, of course, that puts you more despondent until you're depressed. But we don't think about that in terms of like food, right? And we've talked a lot about the metabolic typing, and if you're this type or that type, what you eat makes a big impact on your energy levels.
Yes, sir. Yeah. The thing that stuck in my head is this pharmacist telling me that 75% of prescriptions that he fills are for change in moods. People taking stuff to either feel differently or not feel anything at all. And those are the prescription things. And now that I think of it, a whole bunch of the non-prescription things are probably taken for the same reason.
Right. People they get drunk so that they're numb. They don't feel whatever the pain is.
Yeah,
that's driving.
I don't want to feel what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, and George is saying spraying paraquat on crops is hellish to the consumer.
Oh, well, that's a whole different kettle of fish, yes.
Yeah. Well, and if your food is not good, why would we be surprised that your health is not good and that your mental health is not good?
I'm wondering if George is saying it because he sprayed the paraquat on people's plants, or if that's just something that happens.
We need more details, George. So our brain has it's an electrical organ, and it's also has a lot of chemical activities that are going on. So if you're firing off all these chemicals, or these chemical reactions are occurring, that assumes that the chemicals are being used up. And if you're not replacing those chemicals, then all of a sudden it stops. And it's kind of like when you pour a glass of ginger ale, fizzy, 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 and then all of a sudden the fizz is gone. And if that's happening to your brain, no wonder it's not working.
Right. Yeah. Running on, well, gosh, it's complicated, right? Neurotransmitters is one big deal. And then, of course, if you don't have enough, the stuff, the energy that will allow you to make the neurotransmitters, whether it's dopamine, serotonin, epinephrine, you name it, If you can't make them, then you're in a different world of trouble.
Right. So mood tends to be influenced by like inflammation, gut health, hormones, toxins, nutrient deficiencies. Let's talk a little bit about this gut brain connection, because that's where we tend to focus. I guess, like, if we were to take just to interrupt myself for a second here, Martin, if we were to take a 30,000 foot view, it would be, you need to make sure you get rest. You need to make sure you get exercise. You need to make sure that you're eating nutritious food. You need to make sure you're drinking clean water. You need to make sure the people around you are not trying to kill you, right? Or, they're supporting you and loving you, as opposed to, telling you you're terrible and all that sort of stuff. You need to have things that you do in life that you feel happy about doing. If you love to paint and you can't paint, that's a problem, right? But if you love to paint and you're painting away, if you feel like your work is valuable work and contributing to the world, if you feel like you have a good connection to God, and you pray, those, or you meditate, or, whatever you want to do. So there's kind of all of these things that, if you have someone that you love, or if you have pets that you love, and these are all important parts of your mental health. But basically, if you're eating potato chips and drinking soft drinks, and you're not exercising, and you're watching Netflix all the time, so you're in this super hyper state, then it's no surprise that people have problems with their mood and their emotions.
Right. And you're only quoting it from the perspective of the mainstream chemistry, which ignores what I started at this preamble, explaining that the metabolic typing actually predetermines how you'll respond, right? So one person will get more carbs and it'll make them more parasympathetic. Another person will take carbs and it will make them more sympathetic, meaning one person will calm down and feel better. Another person will get overstimulated and feel like hell.
Yes. So beer is a carb. And if you go to the bar, you'll notice that people that have too much beer are either fighting, dancing on the tables, or asleep in the corner. So that's the two groups, right?
That's the reaction. Either calm you down too much or stimulate you too much.
So when we talk about mental health, I guess what we're really talking about is there's an area on the spectrum where what we would call this is a healthy person. They're able to respond well to different situations. But if they're way over this way, they'll be like depressed and despondent and just want to end everything. Or if they're way over this way, they want to get into fights and wars and crazy stuff. And so we need to be in the middle, right?
Yeah, we want to be somewhere in the middle where we have a lot of flexibility in our behavioral choices.
Okay. So you talked a bit about the metabolic typing. So if you know your metabolic typing, like if I want to go and have a nap and I'm really like wide awake, but I think, oh no, like I really am tired, but I'm just wired, I'll have a slice of bread. And 20 minutes later, I am in a deep sleep.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Carbs to Scott is a sedative.
Yeah.
To another person, it could be a stimulant.
Yeah. And then if I want to be active and everything else, I'll have a steak.
Yeah, exactly. And that's Scott's recipe, not necessarily somebody else's.
Yeah. Which brings us to one of the major problems with our society, in my opinion, is one size fits all. Go into McDonald's, get a Big Mac.
That's the whole point of it.
Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't fit all. Everybody has individualities, and there's also individualities within these things. And, so it's like, Martin, I started on the banana diet a month ago. I've lost 55 pounds. And Martin goes, awesome. I want to do that. I'm on the diet. And he puts on 10 pounds. What? How can that be? Right? Your diet is crazy. It's not working. Yeah. No, it's awesome.
Yeah. I remember these farmers imported a whole lot of coconut oil so that they may fatten up hogs, because it's a very cheap resource from a tropical country that they could get for a very low price. So they started feeding it to their hogs, and the more they gave them, the slimmer the hogs became.
Yeah.
Logical, right? Because their dominance is set up in such way that hogs get slimmer on fat and fatter on carbs.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So, all right. So
okay,
we've
so
talked a
mental
little
health.
bit
Okay.
about the gut-brain connection. Let's talk about
All right.
chronic
So,
inflammation.
well, no, let me just throw in a little bit in there, Scott, which is
Okay.
this: 80% of your serotonin is made in your gut. So, if your doctor tells you, well, I'll put you on a serotonin, SSRI, which is serotonin, what the heck it is. What does that SSRI stand for? Serotonin reuptake inhibitor, right? What that means is, to whatever tiny amount you have, I'm going to try and preserve the last bits of it.
Oh, okay.
Instead of telling you, I can find you the food that will make abundance of it in your gut.
So for those that don't know, what does serotonin do?
That's the stuff that lifts your mood.
Okay, so it's a happy molecule, right?
It's a happiness thing. Yeah, it's the thing that is the opposite of depressed.
So if you're sad, you should have more serotonin.
Yes.
And what the doctor does is he tries to prevent you from using up any serotonin you have, so that you've still got some. Whereas the ideal thing is this, to raise the serotonin by eating foods that will do that.
Yep.
So
give you the inputs from which you will make more.
Okay, so what foods is that different for different people? Like, we've already talked about different foods having different reactions.
Well, yeah, now we're getting into the gut health, all of that. In general, it will be foods that support your microbiome, which will be things like humic acid to improve the terrain, and soluble and insoluble fibers. That would be lots.
So in other words, if your digestive system is working right, your body is making it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So if you're out of it, then that means you probably have some digestive issues that you need to look at.
Yeah. And then we can upgrade it with free-form amino acids, right? Those would be the building blocks.
Right.
To get you right. Yep.
So in other words, when the body works well, when the body is working well, you're generally speaking, you're going to be happy.
Right. And so that the path out of depression is to be healthy instead of to take a drug. So build health. Don't buy chemicals.
What's flashing before me is boxes of Ritz crackers and Coca-Cola and bottles of Coca-Cola, pizzas, and all this stuff, beer, and I'm just thinking, like, if you told people, and we have huge anxiety and depression, and, bipolar and all this stuff going on in the world. And it's just like, all you have to do is stop poisoning yourself and you'll be fine. I'm not poisoning myself.
Do some sunshine therapy, right?
Yeah. Get out in the sun. Yeah. Move around.
Get moving, right? Get a dog.
I'm with a cat for the next 5 weeks.
All right. Well, I hope it doesn't ruin your life.
It's been pretty good so far. It's Mishka's been good. It was meowing at me a lot this morning. I don't know what I did wrong, but he seems to be settled down now, so that's good.
All right. Awesome.
So what about blood sugar, and does that impact mood swings and anxiety?
Well, there we are. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. The fight or flight part of our response to stress.
Okay.
The first thing that happens is your adrenals get the message. They release cortisol. Cortisol causes all the available glucose reserves to be mobilized so that they may be used in the fight or flight effort for you to preserve your own life, right? So we push all the reserves to the muscles, shut down digestion, and activate your back brain. You start reacting rather than acting.
Right.
Yeah.
So Martin, generally speaking, in society, and this is very general, is somebody is like, I'm really depressed, I'm really sad, or I'm really mad and I'm taking it out on people and putting my fist through walls and stuff like, I mean, those are the two extremes, right?
Yeah.
What everybody does is say, well, you need a therapist and some drugs.
Yeah. The drugs to numb, to cut the edge off of it, right? The main purpose of these drugs is to cut away your feeling anything. You just turn into a zombie.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the therapist, that's another crazy trap. When you go talking about your problems, you're just reminding yourself of how shitty your life is.
We had a comment there from Barbara I wanted to quickly read for those that are on the audio version. It's been good to listen to this today. I had to learn the hard way through battling what had been labeled as terminal cancer. Thanks so much for sharing, Scott. Well, I'm so happy that you got through that. Okay, Barbara. That was
for really a terminal person. You sound pretty alive.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So it just strikes me as, because I know people that are somewhat depressed, right? And I've tried saying to them, well, you need to look at your diet, what you're putting in your mouth. And it's, no, I'm talking to my therapist. Everything's going to be fine. Or I'm on some drugs. And I just thought, wow, if you could be on drugs long term and they didn't have other bad side effects, I guess that would be one thing. But people get on these drugs and the next thing you know, they need to be on another one because that drug caused a problem.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, our basic thesis, I guess, Martin, is if you clean up your act, if you're eating properly, drinking properly, if you're getting exercise, getting rest and everything else, your body will naturally move you to a state where it's of optimal health, which usually means you're fairly happy. So let's talk a little bit about what I would call the big 3 or 4, which is air, water, food, and chemicals. So,
please remember sunshine.
Sunshine is part of air, right?
Well, no.
Was that a good segue? Was that a good go in that?
You absorb sunshine by being exposed to it, both with your eyes, your third eye, and your skin.
Yeah, just getting outside and looking up at the sun. I have my eyes closed and I just feel it beating down on my face and the rest of my body. And it's a wonderful feeling, particularly if you're barefoot on the grass.
There we go.
Right.
Because now you're grounding on top of it.
Yeah. But so starting with air, our biggest problem is we live in boxes that we build that has a lot of fumes coming off of the walls, off the carpets, off the upholstery, off of the air fresheners and the fabric softeners that we use when we wash. And we have mold, right? Because you're not cleaning out the air. I mean, it's stuck in there. Usually, particularly if you're
stagnant, moist air without sunshine, right?
Yeah.
That's the terrain in which mold will proliferate.
Yeah. I had a friend who was sick on and on and on. He'd get a little bit better, then he'd get sick, a little bit better and get sick. So one day he was just thinking, you know what? I'm going to get myself I'm so sick. I need a better bed. So I'm going to get a bed. So he gets this bed and then he takes down his old bed, and his old bed was a water bed. And he said the black mold under the, when you started pulling it apart
Under the bladder.
On the bladder and everything else was just odd. And so no wonder he was sick all the time. He was constantly exposed to this black mold. And this is part of our natural environment, whether you're in the car, whether you're in a bus, whether you're in your office, whether you're in your home. And one of the reasons why I love, and I make as much as I can, have the windows open as much as I can, and the air moving through and everything else. And, if you live in a place that has a nice environment and you've got an outdoor patio and you spend most of your time there, it's so much the better. Not something that really works too good in the wintertime in Canada when it's minus 30.
But even still, you should still crack your window open to get fresh air in.
Yep. And that's something we need to remember. And of course, when I'm not sure what it was like in British Columbia when you came in the 70s, but growing up in the 60s, you could feel the wind going through the house on the prairies, because we didn't have the insulation that we have today. We didn't have the air. Like today, houses are like airtight, but we'd have little tracks of snow by the windowsill and by the doorway. And my uncle growing up, he was telling me in the wintertime when he was on the farm, like 10, he says he'd wake up and he was on the top bunk of the bunk bed, and there'd be a 1/4 inch of snow just on the top of his blanket.
Leaky houses. The windows were not tight. The walls were not tight. Yeah.
That's right. So Barbara says, with 1 week to live, according to the doctors, I'm still here 14 years later. For water, I choose to drink more.
So nice to hear.
Than straight water. Propel with electrolytes. Yeah, fresh air is crucial. Yes, Barbara, thank you. That's so important.
Did she say propel?
Propel. Yeah.
Awesome.
And let's talk about water, because we have lots of heavy metals in our water, fluoride.
It depends where you live, right? Most cities in America get their water from a river. And most cities are downstream from someplace. So the water treatment plant that's in the city upstream from you takes out some of it, but you still get the poop and the pharmaceuticals and the fertilizers or herbicides and pesticides and everything else that's added to the water from the entire environment. So you're getting whatever's going upstream coming at you.
Yeah. And if you're putting everything in plastic, you're getting the microplastics and whatever's coming off the plastics as well.
Yeah.
All right. And then when it comes to foods and chemicals, George has mentioned this already, like we're poisoning the weeds, and we think that has no impact on the food that we're eating, which is not true. Yep. We ultra process the food, which means it has no nutritional value. And we have artificial dyes, that red one in particular, preservatives, BPAs.
Yeah, the strawberries that look redder than red, or the cereal that says strawberry and it's made red, but it's not really red.
Yeah. Fake food. If you're eating fake food, I guess the real answer to the situation is we need to slow down our lives, not watch as much TV or spend as much time on Facebook, and spend that time actually creating meals that are nutritious and taking time to learn. And once you do, you won't go back, because the food is amazing. Like my sister is a vegetarian, and the meals that she cooks are spectacular. I mean, I still bug her about, she thinks salmon is a vegetable. That's how they get around being on the West Coast and still eating fish. You make up your own rules, right?
Sure. What?
Yeah. So we're getting towards the end of our time together, Martin. Time has just flown by. And I think we should talk about a few of the products and services that we feel will help people. And I'd like to start off maybe talking about metabolic typing and how can people find out what metabolic type they are,
Right.
because that is such a key part to the whole issue.
Agree. Yeah, well, there's a, you can link it there, right? And when you go to it, when you click on that, you will see that you can book this test. Once you fill it out, it's about 120 multiple choice questions. So you answer that, and we'll be able to tell you two things: how you alkalize, how you acidify, which is how you make yourself depressed or how you make yourself anxious. We also will tell you how you gain weight or lose weight, which gets kind of handy. So that's the thing that this will teach you. Now you can do it without taking the test. The test is a shortcut. In one cute little package, you get all the answers quick.
Awesome.
As opposed to having to answer a whole lot of tests that you do on your own.
Okay. And I want to make sure we have time to talk about True Hope.
Yeah. True Hope is an amazing company. Canadians. The story is that one guy's wife committed suicide because of her bipolar disease.
Yeah.
And when he started seeing that his daughter was showing signs of being a lot like the wife, he sprang into action. He, with the help of a friend who was in fact involved in the hog feed manufacturing or sales, concocted a product with which they found they could nutrate away the imbalances. And that's what this is. That product has been around for a good many years, and it helps to balance brains that are out of balance.
If you're at all interested in health, do a search on True Hope and get their book. I've read the book. It is absolutely amazing. It's really two parts. One is the mystery, the detective story about how he figured out how to help his daughter and son. And then the other one is a courtroom drama because the Canadian government told him to stop. And of course, I'm not going to stop if it means my daughter's going to get sick and possibly kill herself like her mom did. And the whole thing is very, very gripping. And
this was actually amazing because the agency, the Canadian Health Canada, which is the equivalent of the FDA, took the company to court, wanting them to stop selling this damn thing because it was treating an illness.
Yeah. Successfully.
Oh yeah, successfully, yes. And it was a fluke because the judge was one of the people who was immensely helped by that product.
Yeah, it was all when you think about it, it had to all be guided, right? That he had that friend that knew about the pigs, and everything else. And the part of the courtroom drama that I will never forget is the the image of like 10 lawyers in black suits on the government side, and this poor dad and some shaggy looking lawyer on the other side. And they had one of the government people up on the stands, and they said, if you knew that this could save someone's life, but it wasn't approved, would you still refuse to let them use it? And the objection, Your Honor, objection. And then the judge says, no, I want to know the answer to this. And it was, of course, yes, it doesn't matter if you die. If we don't approve it, you can't use it. And it was just such a eye opener for me in terms of, does the government really want to help you? Are they really on your side, or are they on the side of these rules that they make up? And so I think it's an excellent story for us to read and learn and help understand the society that we live in, because I'm sure that it's not much different in the United States. But the judge basically said, you've been helping all these people and they're seeing good results. And yes, sir. And he says, well, the Good Samaritan law is you have to continue. So as long as you're continuing to help, you can't stop.
Yeah,
So
that was the judge actually ordered the company to never stop.
Yeah. So it was a real win for us functional medicine types and natural types.
Yeah.
All right. And we have one more I think we want to talk about, which is
this American thing. It's called mood ease.
Oh, I have heart ease. Oops.
Okay, that's not the right thing. Heart ease will help to repair your heart after it has been broken, which, okay, more power to that. But mood ease is the product that we should highlight,
here it is,
which is the one that will help to lift essentially the dark moods. It's something that will promote the neurotransmitters that we mentioned earlier, that promote joy, that promote feeling good about the world, about yourself.
Yeah.
Regardless of the evidence.
And don't forget the power of nutrition to make a difference in your life, right? These and herbs. Actually, I meant to say herbs more than nutrition. Like we have all these plant medicines that have been around for 10,000 years or more, and herbalists like Elijah Free have been able to put it together in ways that are absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yes,
awesome.
sir.
All right, let's go back. So, Martin, we've come to the end of our time. We're a little over time today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. Anything you want to say before we tune out?
Food. Food. Think food before you think pills.
And I would say that sit down and see how you can design your life so that you can make sure that you're eating well, that you're getting rest, that you're getting exercise. Most of us sleepwalk through life. We get up, we brush our teeth, we put some clothes on, we go to work, we have lunch, we have coffee, we get off work, we go home, we collapse in front of the TV, we watch Netflix, we have a bowl of ice cream, and it's 10 o'clock, time to go to bed because I got to get up at 5 or 6 in order to get ready to go to work. And so you have to break the cycle in some way. And the cycle is an easy cycle. Our society tells us, this great show is on Netflix, you should be watching it. I don't mean to pick on Netflix, but they are like number one. And you go to the store and there's a sample of taco chips that are really delicious. The scientists that work for the food companies, they know that this little thing on your tongue here and that little thing on your tongue there, if it fires, you're like addicted to the taste and you can't stop eating. So you have to go back to, carrots and oranges and beef and chicken and cauliflower and make that change. And it's not an easy thing to do. But if you don't do it, if you don't do it, you'll be resting in a hospital with tube drugs. And that's kind of the way the world works. So George says, thank you. Thank you, George. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This has been the Life Enthusiast Health Shots podcast, restoring vitality to you and the planet. And we'll see you next time, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you.